2024 is here, and the FlashPoint Live Rescue America Tour is launching its first campaign on February 8th through the 9th. Join Gene Bailey and the FlashPoint Live team with Andrew Womack at Charis Bible College in Colorado Springs, Colorado. In 2024, we're raising the banner of faith across America to take our nation back. Join us on February 8th through the 9th at Charis Bible College. Register today at 2024flashpoint.live.
All right. Well, I know you've heard the news, but I'm so glad FlashPoint is on a Monday night because we get to talk to you about what happened yesterday. Watch this.
Now, over the past many months, Casey and I have traveled across the country to deliver a message of hope that decline is a choice and that we can, in fact, succeed again as a nation. Nobody worked harder, and we left it all out on the field. Now, following our second place finish in Iowa, we've prayed and deliberated on the way forward. If there was anything I could do to produce a favorable outcome, more campaign stops, more interviews, I would do it. But I can't ask our supporters to volunteer their time and donate their resources if we don't have a clear path to victory. Accordingly, I am today suspending my campaign. I'm proud to have delivered on 100% of my promises, and I will not stop now. It's clear to me that a majority of Republican primary voters want to give Donald Trump another chance. They watch his presidency get stymied by relentless resistance, and they see Democrats using lawfare this day to attack him. Well, I've had disagreements with Donald Trump, such as on the coronavirus pandemic and his elevation of Anthony Fauci. Trump is superior to the current incumbent, Joe Biden. That is clear. I signed a pledge to support the Republican nominee, and I will honor that pledge. He has my endorsement because we can't go back to the old Republican guard of yesteryear, a repackaged form of warmed-over corporatism that Nikki Haley represents. The days of putting Americans last, of kowtowing to large corporations, of caving to woke ideology are over.
They're over. Let me go to you, Rick Green. Before you comment, Rick, here's my concern. I really thought if he was going to drop out, he would have waited till after New Hampshire, and here's why. He came in, everybody was saying Nikki Haley would be in second in Iowa. Well, obviously, DeSantis was. So why? It just seems very suspect to me that he would drop out before New Hampshire. Your thoughts?
No, I think everybody was wanting him to drop out as soon as possible. As soon as the Iowa numbers came in, he's right. The Republican voters were very clearly saying we're standing with Trump. We're sick and tired of all the indictments. We want to give him a chance to finish out what he started with his first 4 years. So I'm not bothered by the timing at all. I think he was polling much worse in New Hampshire than he was in Iowa. Iowa was his chance to show that he could actually hang with President Trump in the race, and it didn't work. So, look, I think that was a very statesman-like report that we just heard from Ron DeSantis. I've said it a long time. He's the greatest governor in the history of America, but he ran up against the fourth best president in American history. And I think it's very clear it's not his time. President Trump deserves another shot, and the American people want to give it to him. So Ron DeSantis is not done. We need him to go continue to be the greatest governor in America and show other governors how to stand up to the federal government.
Yeah, he did. And may I say, and I'm going to go to you here, Mark Burns, you know, what I heard, and that was what I used to hear from Ron DeSantis. I mean, I thought it was very well. Now I know it was written out and all that, but I felt like, oh, there's a DeSantis I remember. Your thoughts, Pastor Mark?
Well, you know, I think Governor DeSantis did the right thing by dropping out. I mean, obviously, many of us within the Trump orbit believe he should have never even ran, but that's water under the bridge. I'm happy that he has realized that he doesn't have a pathway to the presidency, and to put his support and to encourage his supporters to get behind Donald J. Trump, who I believe is without a doubt the greatest president in our lifetime. And so, as I've just been saying across the country, say where I've been. Well, I've been in the evil media, the mainstream media, but I'm happy to be in God's news channel called FlashPoint.
Come on in.
And to talk about why Donald J. Trump is a good fit now more than ever, but especially for the believers, because we have to have a president who honors God and will create laws and push laws and legislations that line up with the Bible. And that's what Donald Trump is doing. That's why Christians are supporting him. We're happy DeSantis dropped out. Go back to Florida, do a good job there. and pray that you make Florida great as President Trump is making America great.
All right, Pastor Hank, I want to get you a chance to weigh in on that. Your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I want to know. I want Rick to know that we feel very bad for him since Ron was kind of his candidate. Is that not correct, Rick? I think we've been saying that from the start.
Yeah. I was always behind DeSantis and Trump both, and I wanted to see in Iowa what the people of Iowa said.
Oh, sure. No. All right, here we go.
Go back and look at the tape.
We'll
let him look at the tape.
We'll let him have his moment. But here's the real deal. You know, I like what Mark just said, Pastor Gene, and here's why. This is time right now for the Republican Party to begin to unite around the most obvious candidate. You can see God's hand on President Trump. You can also see that the Lord is not done with him. It's obvious by how much that they continue to try to do to President Trump, to indict him, to falsely accuse him. And it just continues like the three Hebrew boys. He comes out of the fire without the smell of smoke. But the other thing that we're noticing here is the people, those that didn't feel like they were heard in the 2020 election, this is a protest. They are starting to stand up. You saw it in Iowa. I think you're going to see it in New Hampshire. They're saying, listen, we never got our vote considered. Also, there's some new people that are jumping on board who have seen the harshness of what has gone on since 2020 that has affected open borders, inflation, gas prices, the list goes on and on and on. So they are going towards a Trump train. Now, let me say this, Pastor Gene, quickly. I think of two prophecies that come to my mind, and it's this. God said there would come those that would hate President Trump, even in the political fields, that would begin to join him, and it would bring a unity to the Republican Party. The second one is God said, I will get involved with Trump, and I will cause it to go from Donald Trump to Donald Triumph. And I think that's what we're going to continue to see in this country. God is not finished with America.
No, he's not.
He's not done with you that's watching, and he's not done with President Trump.
I agree. All right, well, speaking of President Trump, here's his comments on Governor DeSantis withdrawing. Watch.
Before we begin, I'd like to take time to congratulate Ron DeSantis and, of course, a really terrific person who I've gotten to know, his wife, Casey, for having run a great campaign for president. He did. He ran a really good campaign, I will tell you. It's not easy. They think it's easy doing this stuff, right? It's not easy. But as you know, he left the campaign trail today at 3 p.m., and in so doing, he was very gracious, and he endorsed me, so I appreciate it. I appreciate that, and I also look forward to working with Ron and everybody else to defeat crooked Joe Biden. We will have to get him out. We have to get him out.
All right, so there was obviously President Trump's comments. I don't know. I still think something's up. I'm just maybe I've been doing this show long enough that I'm looking for that all the time. I think there's more to this DeSantis pulling out than we know. There, I'll leave that there. Look at what Matt Gaetz had to say. We're getting the band back together. Thank you, Ron DeSantis. Obviously, a lot of people happy to have DeSantis back. Now, here's one. Let me show you Tim Scott and his endorsement. Watch.
We need a president today who will stop the crime and recklessness in the streets. We need a president who will restore law and order. We need Donald Trump. Oh, we need a president who will lower our taxes and not raise our taxes. We need a president like Donald Trump. We need a president who understands the American people are sick and tired of being sick and tired. We need a president our foreign adversaries are afraid of and our allies respect. We need a president who doesn't see black or white. We see a president who sees Americans as one American family. We need, and that's why I came to the very warm state of New Hampshire to endorse the next president of these United States, President Donald Trump.
All right, Rick, you know, I'm sitting here listening to all these people endorse him, and there's so many more that have come. You know, this is a guy that has been indicted. He's had his mugshot all over the place. He keeps being, he's had Mar-a-Lago raided. I mean, it's still kind of bizarre that he's so far out in front, don't you think?
Well, you know, Gene, we called it here on FlashPoint last summer with one of the first indictments. You asked me, you said, Rick, how's he going to keep the schedule up, doing campaign events and then also going and doing hearings and having to go to all these trials? And I said, well, the hearings are going to be campaign events, Gene, and the mugshots are going to become the campaign material, because we talked about it here on the program. Hank's talked about it, prophesied about it. Justice. People are drawn to justice. They want to see the injustice stop. And so we knew he was standing between us and these leftists, and that he was it represented the worst of the injustice and the two-tier justice system. And so I still believe that's the thing that really turned the race around. I just got to say one more thing, Gene, about the other candidates that ran. I think a lot of people ran, including Ron DeSantis and Tim Scott, not knowing for sure what was going to happen with Trump, almost like being there just in case. Right. He did end up health failing at his age, or possibly not even run. Right. There were just a lot of factors out there. I don't think it makes any of them bad guys. I think they are part of the same team. I think Nikki Haley does represent the wrong part of the party for what we want on FlashPoint and for biblical worldview folks. We don't want more wars. We don't want all the corporatism that she represents. So now it's going to be a very, very clear choice, which is why I think it's good that he got out before tomorrow, because you have that very clear choice. I think Trump's going to win big tomorrow and probably just sweep the whole thing from here on out. I don't think he'll lose one single primary.
No, I don't think so either. Let me go to you, Mark Burns. You know, Rick actually brings up a very good point about Trump's success, you know, with justice. Is that what you think? Speak to that.
Well, I mean, of course. I mean, just look at our numbers within the black community, especially within black men, because the injustice system that has happened to Donald Trump, the billionaire Donald J. Trump, black men are seeing in larger numbers. We're polling at 23% amongst African-American men in support of Donald Trump. You understand? That's pretty much unheard of since Richard Nixon, right? And so when we see a two-tier justice system that is happening against Donald Trump, and, you know, again, CNN asked me yesterday, why is Donald Trump still doing so well? You know, they hate over there in Clinton News Network. Why in the world is he still doing well? I said, very simple, because the hand of God is upon Donald J. Trump. The Bible says that God raises up who he desires. And so the fact of the matter is that no matter how much they have hit him, Donald Trump is still moving full steam ahead because the hand of God is upon his life. But what's scary right now is why we need to have him back now. Do you see what's happening in your state of Texas right now with Governor Abbott at the border, and now the Supreme Court just now, and people are whispering the word civil war has now made it to make sure that those federal agents cut the wire, letting those illegals in, that active invasion that is happening in Texas, in your state that you're in. This is why Donald J. Trump needs to come back. This is why no matter how hard they hit him, no matter what indictments come out, he keeps rising in the polls. Nikki Haley is the former governor of my state here in South Carolina, and I can tell you in South Carolina, this is absolutely Trump territory. Many didn't like her as a governor, and they didn't like her as an ambassador. And now she's trying to be president. She's going to be embarrassed. Our prayer is that she drops out before she even gets to South Carolina, so she's not so embarrassed in her own state.
Well, it's going to be exciting to watch for sure. So listen, we're going to be there every step of the way. Tomorrow night, we will cover what's going on in the New Hampshire primary. You don't want to miss any of that as we give you the results all the way up to the last minute. We'll be covering it all during the show tomorrow night. But it's not just the black vote. It's not just the white vote. It's the Latinos. Look at this. New York Post posted, Trump now edges Biden among New York Latinos as the migrant crisis rages. And they quote a poll there. I mean, Pastor Hank, you see this. This is, I really do believe, and maybe Rick can speak to this in just a minute, but I want to get your input. You know, I wonder with all the open border, all the stuff that Mark Burns is talking about, did they really think that the Latino vote was going to come in here and swing the vote to the liberal side? If that was the case, and I have nothing to say that it was, if that was their idea, it surely has not worked.
I do think that they were considering that, as well as they're looking to, make those that are coming across open borders,
right,
give them access to vote. I do think that's part of their agenda. But here's the real deal. Among the Latino community, you talk to great people like Pastor Tony Soares, for example, who's here on FlashPoint. You talk to Pastor Sammy Rodriguez, who's also been on FlashPoint, and they will tell you, I've heard them say it, that obviously the Latino community, they're very family-oriented. They're also, there's a draw to God. They really want God. And I think those two factors, they're seeing in President Trump, that he is a man who represents God to this country. He's not afraid to use the name Jesus Christ in a very positive way, but he's also about America first, which means their families. And when the Biden administration and these fake administrators were doing what they're doing by causing the harshness where baby formula, for example, was unreachable, it was unaffordable, gas prices, this has touched many communities, but many families. And I think even the Latino community, and they're saying, you know what, it really doesn't matter. We want somebody that's going to represent us. I do want to say this very quickly, Pastor Gene, going back to something that Rick Green said about the indictments with President Trump. And God prophesied, I'm holding up these feathers again, that with all these indictments, listen carefully, this is what's going to happen. And hopefully those that are indicting him are going to see this. It's all going to fall like feathers, and it isn't going to stand, because you're touching something that is bigger than all of you. Even those journalists, those fake news, you're messing with God, and you're going to lose every single time when you touch something that God has involved himself in. It's not just about Donald Trump. It's about a country that God is committed to, and a people who've prayed, and the Lord has answered with his justice.
Yeah, and thank you for saying that, Pastor Hank, because this isn't the Trump channel. However,
right,
that is exactly what we're thinking and believing for the right thing for America. Rick, how do you see this all playing out?
Well, to what you just said, it is so important for us to remember. We're in this for the principles, not for any person. It just so happens that Donald Trump is the guy representing the principles. And if it was somebody else representing the principles, we'd still be for the principles, not the personality. That's the right biblical way to do this. But to your question earlier about, the Hispanic community and their response to the open border and their response to Donald Trump being willing to close that border or secure that border, I should say. Think about it this way. If you buy a ticket to go to the Super Bowl, and other people that bought tickets to go to the Super Bowl are all, starting to go in, and they just open the gates to anyone to come in for free. And now you don't even have a seat, or the place is overrun. The game's not even going to happen. Even someone like a Philadelphia Eagles fan can figure out that that's not right. That's not fair. That's not just. It's wrong. And so I think anyone, red, white, yellow, black, or brown, whatever the color of their skin, wherever they came from, that loves America, that loves, as Mark was saying, the family unit, and as Hank was talking about, they do not want to see this country overrun and totally torn apart and diluted by the cartels and all the other junk that's coming across, with the families that want to have a piece of America and have the American value. It's been overrun by the bad, and they know that, and they get that. And Donald Trump's been the only one in a long time. I mean, remember in 2016, guys,
yeah,
he was articulating the border thing in 2016. It was the number one thing in his platform. So he's been the only one that said, I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat, we've got to do the right thing here. And that finally now, 8 years later, I believe we're going to have the momentum to get it done when he wins in 2024.
All right. So if you are from Philadelphia, you can contact Rick if you didn't like that comment, rickgreen.com, Patriot Academy. All right. Listen, let me go to another article with the New York Post, get off this dangerous territory. Now, this guy, okay, I don't like his name, Charlemagne the God, he ain't God, but says working class people extremely frustrated with migrants and Biden's to blame for the border mess. Watch this.
I have the privilege, man, of, doing morning radio and speaking to, working class people every single day. I have the privilege of, being involved in my community from, New York to New Jersey to South Carolina, where I get to look people in the eyes and have, real conversations, with them. And, people are really concerned about this issue. Like I honestly have never spoken to as many people who are concerned about the migrant issue as I have, over the past year. And I mean, I've heard everything from, the gang MS-13, overrunning neighborhoods. I've heard, what we saw just happened in New York City, where the migrants, they took 2,000 migrants and put them in the school and made the school stay home, made the students stay home and do school via Zoom. And that was a big issue. Like, I mean, people were calling the radio station, that was just this week, really, really, really complaining about that. So I've never seen, working class people who I interact with every day until this past year really, really, really express their frustration for the migrants. And it's not even just the people. Like, you see politicians who once, championed having the migrants in the city, like the mayor Eric Adams of New York. Now they're like, yo, hold up. This is too much. We've heard Vice President Kamala Harris say, hey, don't come. Like, we've seen that. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a real big issue.
All right, Pastor Mark, I before you come, I want you to comment on that. But it seems like we're suddenly hearing all of these people that would not say anything before now coming to the forefront, and I would say Biden bashing. Where were they a few years ago? But I'll nevertheless let you comment.
But Gene, I'm going to tell you this. First of all, I'm happy to hear that Charlemagne, and I never call him the God. As a matter of fact, I wish he was this kind to me back in 2015, 2016, and 2020, right? He was not kind to me at all. But I am happy he is now singing to a new tune. I told him to his face, you're not a God. There's but one living God, and his name is Yeshua, Jesus, our Messiah. So, but I digress. But I am happy that he is, with this very popular platform, the Breakfast Club, where, Hillary Clinton infamously was pandering after the African American community with her hot sauce comment. That is his show that he is one of the main hosts on. And I'm happy to see that, again, it surpasses race at this point. The problems that the Biden administration with the border is doing is surpassing race. And to be honest, the first people that is affected by this mass migration or illegal immigration or this active invasion that is happening of the southern border are lower income communities, Hispanic communities, Black communities. And so where are a lot of these jobs, these skilled labor jobs that used to be catered, not so much catered, but geared towards skilled hand workers are going to illegal immigrants. And so, again, I'm happy that he's singing a new tune. But again, he has some very choice words about me and my Uncle Tom status. And I'll be honest with you, I'm a proud Uncle Tom, right? I'm proud to be an Uncle Tom. He was a champion for his people. But I'm happy that Charlemagne is finally speaking out in positive to the immigration situation. Because, again, it's not about the color of your skin. It's simply a right or wrong situation issue. And right now, this active invasion that is happening under the Biden watch is affecting everybody, regardless of whether you lean left or you lean right. It's affecting everybody, Gene.
Yeah, and you bring up a great point, Mark. Rick, it is affecting everybody. Do you think that's why we're seeing suddenly the push towards to the right?
Yeah, I think it's helped a lot that these big cities that had wanted to be sanctuary cities, they're now having to live with their bad policy. That's what always happens on the left. It looks great on paper, right? It's a great idea. It sounds good in a speech. And then the reality of it hits and people go, this was terrible. I love the fact, Pastor Mark, that Uncle Tom was the good guy in Uncle Tom's Cabin. We want more Uncle Toms that love the Lord and stand for the Lord. Anyway, that was fantastic. But I'm so old. When you mentioned the Breakfast Club, I thought you were talking about Emilio Estevez and Judd Nelson and Molly Ringwald. So I'm just completely out of touch, I guess.
Yeah.
No. Charlemagne is a voice, and a lot of people follow him, right? And so it's a major thing to have him come out and speak against Joe Biden. It's a major thing. I mean, to see, again, there's no other option but Donald Trump. And I agree with you. FlashPoint is not Trump channel, right? We understand that. Right. And again, I 100% appreciate the fact that he right now is the leader of the policies that we all stand behind, and we would support any person that is for those policies. And the moment that Donald Trump, or anybody for that matter, comes against the word of God, we, the voice of the Holy Spirit, will open our mouths and speak directly against that. I don't care how many times I get to talk to him. He sent me a little letter yesterday. Thank you, Mr. President. I'm very thankful for the letter that came, but a handwritten letter. But again, he knows Mark Burns will speak, thus saith the Lord. And that's one of the reasons why I believe he's going to make amazing 47s, because he do listen to those men and women of God that are in his ear. But yes, Charlemagne the God is not a fan. He is not a God. He is a false God. There's but one living God, and his name is Jesus Christ. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. You can tell I got a lot of hurt. I've been waiting to say that for a long time to Charlemagne. I'm proud to be Uncle Tom. Matter of fact, I think I'm labeled as the #1 Uncle Tom, and I'm proud of it.
All right.
Hey, Gene, can I say one thing about what Mark was saying? Because I think he's right. If anybody will stand for these things, they will be supported. And what he just mentioned about the border, and you're probably going to get to this. I'm sorry if I'm jumping into this topic too soon. But what happened with the Supreme Court today and saying that the feds can go cut that wire, I promise you, if Greg Abbott will stay firm, if he'll stand up and say, no, we're not going to let you do that, we're going to stand our ground on this, the American people will stand with him, even from these blue cities. So all across the nation, people are sick and tired of this, but you've got to have some people that are willing to say no, not only to Joe Biden, but now they're going to have to say no to the Supreme Court. It's literally saying no to the federal government. Federal government, you failed at your job, and under Article 1, Section 10, we're going to do our job as a state.
Amen. And I agree with you 100%, which is rare. All right, Pastor Hank, I want to give you a chance to comment on this before we go to break.
Well, I think that, I think of a scripture here in the book of Isaiah that you're going to see more and more. A wise man's heart, Ecclesiastes 10:2, is at the right hand. More and more people are going to come over and see that there is certain benefits about doing what's right, but more than that, doing what God said, and that always is right. But then it says this, but a fool's heart is at his left. And that's really what the agenda of the left has been. It's been foolishness, it's been insanity, it's been perversion, it's been corruption. And more people are going to jump over and begin to do what's right, and it's going to establish a unity and an order in this country.
Speaking of Israel and Hamas, the war that's going on, Senator Fetterman, now, okay, so it's Fetterman, but he actually has a moment of lucidity and really brings a great point. Watch this 1-minute video.
I saw a poll that indicated you have very high approval among Democratic voters, and this information in Pennsylvania, and this information came along with the tag that Twitter is not real life, because obviously a lot of progressives on Twitter have been attacking you for your position on Israel, for noting that, in your opinion, saying that there is a crisis at the border does not make one xenophobic. Why do you think you've been so criticized by so many progressives?
I honestly don't understand. I don't understand why it's controversial to anybody to decide that you're going to stand with Israel in this situation. I honestly don't understand why it's controversial to say we need a secure border. I've been very clear. In fact, that was weaponized against me as Republicans in my race, that I'm very much a strong supporter of immigration. And, my wife's family, that's the Oregon story about that. And I think two things can be true at the same time. You can be very supportive of immigration, but we also need to have a secure border.
Okay, Pastor Hank, I think I absolutely agree with Fetterman in that, but I don't think he understands what he's really dealing with Israel and the Palestinians and the Hamas. I just don't think he really understands it. Do you?
Well, again, I mean, it doesn't even sound like Fetterman. You know, it makes me wonder, wow, what's going on here? I mean, that's a complete shock because so much of what his party, you know, stands for. But I do think this, we have to go back, and this is where what Fetterman spoke about, I think, is the point. What happened to Israel is, whether you like it or not, whether you agree or not, was a terrorist act that absolutely inflicted such terror upon the innocent and created this situation that really Israel had no choice and has no choice to set a certain standard and a certain order. And where Fetterman is right, it's the same thing with our open borders. You don't know who's coming across our borders. You don't know what their intent is. But I do know this. There is a praying army of people that are getting before the face of God, and the Holy Spirit is the greatest entity in this earth, greater than any army, greater than any weapon, and the Holy Spirit is going to continue to restrain the hand of terrorists and the hand of those who have an intent to harm this country and even Israel. And I believe, Pastor Gene, you're going to now see not only tensions arise over the next few months, that people are going to think that things are going a different direction or maybe a very fearful direction. But really what it is hell is responding to God, who's putting his finger on things and bringing things to light, bringing justice and bringing a restraint so that this country in the coming months will have a celebration that it deserves, that will break the harshness that has been on it for the last few years.
I so agree. And, you know, we are seeing, I think, like Fetterman, you're seeing some people that you probably didn't expect to have something that makes sense, and they're coming back over. Rick, you had a comment?
Yeah, I think Fetterman articulated our position when he said two things can be true. You can be pro-immigration. We are pro-legal immigration. We want it to be 1,000 times easier to come legally, and then at the same time be pro-secure the border, make it 1,000 times harder to come illegally. And it just proves that the more Fetterman articulates conservative principles, the more sound and articulate he is, proving that liberalism is, in fact, a mental condition. I'm just kidding on that part, but, you know.
Yeah. Okay. We talked about this Thursday night. We have a new book out. Terry and I wrote Killing America, Turning the Tide on the Tsunami of Darkness. This is a hard-hitting book you'll want to read. Even Rick Green read part of it. And no, he read it and wrote something very nice, and Pastor Hank did as well. But listen, it releases Super Tuesday, March 5th. If you want to get your copy, we want you to go and pre-order it. GoVictory.com/merch. Get your order in for Killing America. Charlie Kirk and Eric Metaxas wrote the forwards. Donald Trump Jr. wrote something on here. I guarantee you, this is the book you want to give your loved ones. They're really not really clued into what's going on in America. All right? Well, thank you.